You know, I gotta say, War Chicken's faction system is heavily underdeveloped in comparison to some other things in the game, and I really do hope that at some point there's gonna be an update to them. However, for the time being today, I really want to talk about some issues with the factions themselves and how we can actually go ahead and improve the system. Because right now, basically what it is in short detail is, kind of like a nothing burger in a way, and this really does sucks to say, because for example, when it comes to the only way to make any money or any medals, we just have this leveling system, and that's literally it. There is nothing more to it. I think that's the simplest way that any game has ever done a system like this. Because really, apart from the reward system, there's no other reason why you would want a faction, because the leaderboard itself, it's kind of just there for the visuals, it's useless, it doesn't provide any benefits. So anyway, the first thing which I'd like to see is server-wide faction wars, which are basically 9v9s. I know this used to be extremely popular in War Chicken, and these used to be kinda custom hosted by factions that agreed to do it, and by that you'll be ranking up in some kind of league or whatever. Point being, is I feel like having bigger faction activities is something that will be nice to see. Either 9v9s where you're basically all in one base on a certain island, and then the other faction is all in one base, and from that base you can basically spawn all vehicles, and the faction that has the most kills by the end, or maybe the faction that takes over the biggest portion of the map, secures the biggest portion of the map, will be winning by the end. Now the next thing with this I also want to see is a proper mid-FFA mode where factions could fight in, and this used to once again be really popular in the previous maps. However, now it's not really as popular anymore because the factions themselves have kind of just died. Nobody really plays that much as a team anymore, apart from some really big factions, but like on average nobody really does this. And it is sad because the mid FFA itself is still really cool to do, because it forces you to only go on the ground, which is something that people once again don't do too much in this game. So maybe actually adding proper mid FFAs which factions could fight in would allow for players to once again start playing this game on the ground instead of just spamming vehicles every second. It's kind of getting annoying now. Now the next thing which I want to talk about is going to be an expansion to the reward system itself. Currently there are two types of rewards which you can get. You got the faction rewards, which basically get you higher XP boosters and let you have more members. I guess that's really it. And along with that, there's challenges which we need to complete for XP, which let us have some cash and literally barely any medals. I feel like these medals that we get here should definitely be rebalanced if they don't plan on an update like this, because having 2 medals for hitting such a high level is crazy. But yeah, what I feel like would be nice to do is for the top factions on the leaderboards to actually receive pretty big prizes for actually putting in so much effort. And I feel like the best way in which they could do this is have certain leagues. So maybe 5 different leagues which you can get. The higher the league, the more you have to do, etc, and you get more rewards in return. Now, along with this, another thing which I'd like to see with the rewards being changed is that instead of having to grind for like level 45 yourself to get the MI-24 Hind, but how about if your faction is at a certain level, then everyone in it would be able to unlock these vehicles. However, you still have to pull in your own weight by filling in the certain amount of quota, so the inactivity isn't really as big of a deal. So you don't specifically invite people to a faction so they unlock a vehicle. You actually have to do something in that faction to unlock it yourself. And along with this, I just would like to see a lot more rewards being given in general. For one, the challenges themselves could give a lot more. There should be different and more unique types of challenges. As you progress further in the leagues, you could potentially be able to unlock certain vehicles which other people wouldn't be able to have. Of course, these vehicles shouldn't be like really overpowered because they're inaccessible to most players, and kind of like they did with the limiteds which they add are no longer that overpowered anymore. They're kind of just like normal vehicles with special features rather than something that gives you an insane advantage. Now the next thing which I want to quickly go over is going to be the freedom which you get when it comes to having a faction, because currently we don't really get a lot of creative freedom. And what I mean by this is whenever we create a faction, we really don't have many options for what we want our logo to be when it comes to just how creative we want it to be, if that makes sense. Because right now we have a set certain logos which we can use, a set certain text, and that's literally it. I feel like they could have copied a system from a game like Pixel Gun 3D, which essentially lets you fully paint your emblem for the faction and being able to just be a lot more creative with it in general. I feel like right now that's just not what we have. And now the last thing which I'd like to see is more quality of life changes in relation to the factions themselves. As an example, it is extremely annoying that you are in a position where you teamfire a lot of times because you don't know who your faction member actually is. I kind of wish that a vehicle could have its own special camo which is only exclusive to the faction itself, so that way, let's just say that you could create custom camos in this game. That would be a new system that they would kind of have to add, and I feel like being able to design camos yourself would also be extremely cool in this game. But anyway, for the time being, that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Do let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this and what you'd actually like to see when it comes to a faction rework. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.